I actually built this project from my bedhead as pictured. It was my sister's in Tasmania. I cut it up, brought it back in a suitcase and started to sand it down. Sanding and gluing was essential because the thickness of the body required 2 pieces of wood sandwiched together. So I clamped it up for at least a couple of weeks until it was set very hard. I then had to plane down the surfaces by building a router sled. And here is the process of building the sled. The piece of wood was then put between the sides of the sled and a router passed over the top like this to actually plane the surface very smooth and flat. Using the tracks on either side as a reference to get a nice flat surface. Finished off really well. Next stage was to actually cut the body shape. I bought myself a bandsaw to do this. Several of the corners are very sharp, so I had to take a number of passes, relief cuts they're called, to actually get the desired shape. Here is the first cut that I made. It's very rough, but you can see the shape of the guitar starting to emerge. Here's some final cutting using a hacksaw, some very fine cuts. The next stage was to insert tuners into the headstock of the neck. These are ferrules that carry the tuners. Here are the tuners about to be inserted. They have to be screwed on and have to be lined up before you screw them in. So I've got a very expensive ruler which is quite accurate, but also in this case just lines up the tuners before they are then drilled and screwed. The blue marker on the tip of the bit just indicates where the bottom of the hole should be. Next stage was to route the body slots using a template that I purchased for the purpose. Various slots are cut into the guitar body for control components to fit in. Here's some pictures of the final result. The next stage was to wire the controls using a 4-position control switch, which is a bit unusual for a Telecaster, a modified version. High quality components were used at this stage because they can impact on the sound of the guitar. After that, I set about smoothing the edges of the body, once again using a template and what's called a flushing bit on my router. This means that it's ultimately easier to sand down the edges of the guitar. Here's the final shape. Ready for drilling holes for the strings, go through the body, the bridge and the neck. This has to be done extremely accurately because not only do they have to be neat, but they have to be in exactly the right place for template purposes. Drilling the neck is even more fastidious. I think I spent about 3 days trying to work out how to do this accurately to within a 0.5 millimetre, as the intonation of the guitar is impacted very badly if it's not sitting in exactly the right spot. I'm doing a final check of the components, make sure everything fits correctly before sending it off to Fretco for painting. It's a final body before painting. This picture is a picture that I wanted Greg at Fretco to copy. That's actually one I found on the web which I liked. Here he is in the spray booth at Fretco, starting preparation. He used newspaper to mask an area which was later going to be sunburst with a yellow and red fringe. There's the final colour burst. It's called sunburst. And after it was polished and finished with several coats of clear, I took it home for a final fit out. Here I am fitting the ferrules on the back of the body. This is where the string passes through from the back of the body to the front. I spent some time fitting the controls, and here I am just testing them through the amplifier to make sure they're all working.